computer situation so I don't have to hold my phone. I'm having issues. I had it a second ago, but now it's not cooperating with me, so I'm just trying to figure out a way to keep my phone here. Come on, Cletus. Man, I gotta get better equipment, it seems like. There we go, that'll work. So I'm continuing the conversation with chatgpt about the different kind of conspiracies floating around YouTube. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm using chatgpt. I'm just going to read off. I have a lot more questions, but here's where I left off with all that. Let's see. So I left off talking about Comet R2 and people saying that it's secretly Nibiru and agencies are hiding it from us. Here's what ChatGPT had to say about this. What is Comet R2? Comet R2 typically refers to a known comet in astronomy like Comet R2, Pan stars, or other comets with designations that include R2. These are regular comets observed and tracked by astronomers. Let me clarify that question. Is R2 Swan Nibiru? It's searching the web. Oh. I misspelled it. Nibiru. Spell it right. Nibiru. Yeah. Is the newly discovered comet Swan. Forget the name of it. Is the newly comet R2 Swan actually Nibiru? Joke. What a joke. I already know the answer to that, but let's see here. So it says, no, there is no scientific evidence that comet C2025 R2 Swan, or the newly discovered comet 5 R2 Swan. It was discovered September 11, 2025 by Vladimir Bezogi using the SWAN instrument on SOHO, Solar and Hemispheric Observatory. It is a non-periodic comet, meaning it is not on a short, well-known orbital period. Its orbit is long, possibly thousands of years. Closest approach to the Sun, perihelion, was about 0.5 AU from the Sun, half the Earth-Sun distance, around its discovery time. It is not predicted to come as comet. Nibiru is a term in popular conspiracy theories about a large, unknown planet or object that is supposed to be on a collision course or at least a very threatening path with Earth. There is no credible astronomical evidence for it has been found. Putting two together, discovery and observation. C2025 R2 Swan, visibly tracked by multiple observers, orbit, estimated brightness, estimated, etc. Nibiru as claimed in conspiracies, no verified, consistent observations, mostly speculation and internet claims. Orbit and period for C2025. Very long period comet, possibly thousands of years, but on cometary orbit, not massive planet behavior. Nibiru is supposed to be massive planet-like, often with far different claimed orbital parameters, often inconsistent. Mass and gravitational effects. Comets are relatively small. No unusual gravitational effects from C2025 R2 have been observed. Nibiru is claimed often to produce gravitational effects on comets, Earth, solar systems which haven't been detected. Behavior. Approaches the Sun, has coma and tail, behaves like a typical comet. Nibiru claims are that a large body, not a comet with tail and small nucleus. Conclusion. Based on everything scientists have observed, Comet C2025 R2 Swan is being like a comet. There is no credible evidence linking it to any of the features or claims about Nibiru. So unless new data emerges that is directly contradictory, there is no reason to believe the comet is Nibiru. If you want, I can also pull up what astronomers say about such claims. So you can see both scientific and public perspectives. No, it's okay. Let's see, I had a question. Yeah, what is the size? What is the size? What is the size of, what's it called? I don't know why, just these names. C-2025 R2 Swan and the size of 3I Atlas. Enter. I'm just waiting. Searching the web. Searching the web. Here we go. Here are what astronomers currently estimate for the sizes of C2025 R2 Swan and 3I Atlas, also known as, okay, whatever, plus how certain those estimates are. Size of 3I Atlas. From multiple observations, especially with Hubble and other telescopes, the nucleus is estimated to be between about 0.32 kilometers and 5.6 kilometers in diameter. Hubble observations specifically constrain the radius of the nucleus to be less than 2.8 kilometers if you assume a low reflectivity. It could be as small as 320 meters across, depending on how much of the observed brightness comes from dust in the comet's coma rather than its solid nucleus. So the uncertainty is large. Size of C2025 R2 Swan. As of now, there is no good published measurements. Interesting. There's a lot of videos saying it's 100 times bigger, this and that. It just says, as of now, there are no good published measurements of the nucleus size of C2025 R2 Swan that are found. The comet is newly discovered and bright enough to observe, but the observations have not yet given a solid diameter estimate for this nuclei. We do know its magnitude of 6 to 7 visibility, roughly, in orbital parameters. Summary, comparison. Best estimate size. What's interesting is that it says that for the C2025 R2 Swan, it says not yet determined. That's pretty interesting. So that's probably going to fuel a lot of those conspiracies. But give it time and it will be determined. So that's pretty interesting right there. See, I had some other questions that I wanted to get to, and they've kind of escaped my mind. But I do want to ask about Kim Clement and see what it thinks about Kim Clement. This guy who back in the day, I mean, we're talking 2013, 2014, he was prophesizing that Trump was going to win presidency. All these things that are happening, you know, it's, yeah, you know, I think he talked about. So I'm going to say Kim Clement. Can you, let's see, Kim Clement, let's see, what are the known claims and prophecies made by Kim Clement? Give me the year and give me, let's see, how can I say that? I want to know which claims have come true, and inform me on what claims have come true. Enter. Here's a breakdown of various claims and prophecies attributed to Kim Clement when they were made, if known, what they said, and what evidence there is about whether they have been fulfilled. As with many prophetic figures, the record is mixed. Some people believe certain prophecies came true, others disagree or point out failures or vagueness. Notable prophecies and claims made by Kim Clement. Here are several of the more frequently cited ones, along with dates and detail. The approximate year, 1996, 9/11 terror attacks. He prophesied that there would be a terrorist act, speaking of flying in the air over Long Island. Very interesting. 2001, Saddam Hussein captured. He prophesied that Saddam Hussein would be captured. 2002, African-American president of U.S. I remember watching that video. He reported to have said America would have an African-American president, and Obama became president. Osama bin Laden would be found. 2004, he made that claim. In 2004, said the search for Osama bin Laden would be completed. 2005, Hurricane Katrina. He is reported to have prophesied that New Orleans would suffer a big disaster month before Katrina struck. 2006, Japan earthquake. He prophesied in 2006 that Japan would experience an earthquake. Gaddafi Mubarak toppling, 2006. He foresaw that Muammar Gaddafi would be toppled, January 1st, 2006. Eminem, Stephen King, Rupert Murdoch media changes. Interesting. Prophecy. This year, I will raise up Eminem to be a voice. Conversion shall come to his house. Eminem, I will touch Stephen King, and he will write for the kingdom of God. I will raise up Rupert Murdoch. There shall be a joining of networks, ABC being one of them. The media shall never be the same. How interesting is that? 2007, unusual president, not traditional warrior, difficult issues. He prophesies that a man who is unusual, not traditional, will become president, a warrior style, tough on politics issues. Missing Malaysian flight MH370, 2014. On March 20, he said to have prophesied that the missing Malaysian jet MH370 would be hard to locate even if authorities claim they found it. 2007, two-term presidency prophecy. God says, I will put at your helm for 2 terms a president that will pray, but he will not be praying president when it starts. He will not be a praying president when it starts. Is that it? Oh, scroll back up. We got some more here. Which have stronger and weaker evidence of fulfillment? Here is a rough assessment of which prophecies have more credible support versus those that are dubious or likely unfulfilled. Prophecy. African-American President Obama, stronger case for fulfillment. Stronger, Barack Obama's president clearly matches that description. Okay, it's just kind of going through why it's vague or not vague, but it's just kind of really whatever. Additional criticism and things that didn't appear to happen. That's what I really want to know. The prophecy that Eminem would convert and become a voice for Christian prophecy in a formal way has not been substantiated. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. You know, just because it hasn't happened, it doesn't mean it still won't. So that's pretty interesting. Will Eminem come out as a Christian and start writing songs for Christ? That's very interesting. Prophecies of extreme events, for example, that the U.S. would be destroyed by a nuclear attack or that the EU would collapse, appear not to have been fulfilled. Thank God. Nobody wants that. The prophecy that the world would end in 2007 also did not happen. How funny. Caveats and how prophecies get interpreted. When assessing whether prophetic claims have come true, several factors matter. Number one, specificity. A prophecy that says there will be conflict is easier to see as fulfilled post fact than one that gives exact dates or details. Timing. Did the prophecy give a time frame? If not, any future event might be claimed as fulfilling. Interesting. Record documentation. Is there a reliable timestamp transcript or recording of exactly what was said? Did Clement himself or his ministry provide detailed records? Sometimes prophecy recollections are vague or modified. Well, I mean, there's videos. There's tons of videos of him. You can watch it. I mean, you can watch what he says. He can be very detailed. He made a claim about, I watched a video that he claimed that there was something called the BBB, and it was going, and this was like in 2014, something like 2013, 14. This thing called the BBB, which he didn't understand, but he knew that it would help Americans and alleviate taxes. And the BBB, as we know, is Trump's big, beautiful bill. So that, that's, how do you just, you can't just make that up. You can't just go, oh, the BBB, and then, a decade later, we have the BBB. That's pretty interesting. It doesn't say anything about that. Vagueness, multiple possible outcomes. Prophecies that are general or metaphorical can often be matched to many events, which, but again, BBB, that's pretty specific. He even said he didn't understand what it was, but he kept seeing BBB. So that's pretty interesting. Another thing that's interesting is the things he said before he died. So I'm going to ask, or I'm going to say, what did Kim Clement say or confessed at his deathbed? I think he died in 2007, and there's a bunch of videos saying, "Oh, see, he lied about everything," but they don't say what he said, or they just misinterpret it. So I want to see what chatgpt thinks and can come up through the web search. Here's what I found about things Kim Clement reportedly confessed or repented of toward the end of his life. Some of it is from interviews, sermons, reports, etc., but I did not find credible sources that show a dramatic deathbed confession. There you go. In the sense of him publicly saying, on my deathbed, I repented of everything. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you're close to dying, you want to repent. That's clear. So I think people are misconstruing, I mean, I don't know. Because, I mean, when you're a sinner, no one's perfect on this earth. And when you're a sinner, you feel like you need to repent. You want to be cleaned. So most are from a few years before his death. What Clement reportedly repented of before his death. According to Charisma magazine, summarizing an interview testimony by Bishop Alan Didio, Clement acknowledged three main areas in which he realized errors and repented. Here are the three things. Eschatology, end times teaching. He said he had grown tired of eschatology and he despised it at one point. Pretty interesting, because I feel the same way. All these people who year after year after year, and they're wrong, claim that it's the rapture. And how many times have we seen this on YouTube? The rapture is coming on this date. Nothing happens. Nobody says anything that it doesn't happen. They just continue on to next year and then repeat the same thing, which is happening again this year, somewhere between September 21st and 24th. It's supposed to happen. Give me a break. Give me a break. I totally agree with him. It's a very perverse thing to do when it clearly states in the Bible that no man should know the hour. Replacement theology views toward Israel as a nation. Interesting. Clement admitted he had previously subscribed to replacement theology, viewing Israel more spiritual rather than as a physical nation. After travel or visits to the Holy Land and fresh theology encounters, he said this view was erroneous. Very interesting. Israel is such a hot topic right now, and the fact that this is what he said 2007, I'm not sure what he means by that. Clement admitted he had previously subscribed to replacement theology. I'm going to have to ask more about that, because I don't know what that is. Understanding the rapture and judgment. He said he lacked clarity or knowledge about how the rapture works. At least he's an honest man. The timing, etc. Also, that he had previously avoided preaching much about divine judgment and end times. There was some discomfort and disdain in his mindset toward judgment. That's pretty interesting. To me, that just tells me that he was an honest man. When death is knocking, your head tends to get more clear. What was not found? Uncertainties. There was no well-documented source I found that says he made a dramatic, on my deathbed, I recant all prophecies statement. See, there you go. That's what people are saying. That's a lie. The repentance or correction seems to have happened over time, not necessarily literally at the last moments of life. The sources are mostly from Christian news outlets and ministries rather than secular or independent verification, so details may be shaped by those reporting. Some of the statements are somewhat vague, lack of understanding, discomfort with preaching judgment, which makes it hard to assess exactly how full the repentance change was, or whether he retracted earlier prophecies explicitly. I want to ask more about replacement theology because I don't know what that is. So, what is replacement theology? I think I misspelled theology, but I think it understood. Replacement theology, also known as suppressionism, is a belief within some branches of Christianity that the church has replaced Israel in God's plan. Interesting. And see, I support Israel not from a biblical stance. I support Israel from a military strategic stance in that area. I don't believe because it's, there's so many things that on YouTube you see, oh, the Jews are not God's chosen people. This is, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I mean, I look at it from a military strategy and I go, yeah, as Americans, we want that fortified place in that area. We definitely want it. Basic idea. It teaches that God's promises and covenants with the nation of Israel in the Old Testament have been fulfilled, ended, or transferred to the Christian church. I'm going to read that again because it didn't click. It teaches that God's promises and covenants with the nation of Israel in the Old Testament have been fulfilled, ended, or transferred to the Christian church. According to this view, ethnic or national Israel no longer has a special role in God's according to the view, ethnic and national Israel no longer has a special role in God's redemptive plan because the role has been suppressed, replaced by spiritual Israel, the church. I still don't quite understand what it's saying. Key beliefs in replacement theology. The church is the new Israel. Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, the church is the church, and if there's a church that, if Christians go there and they preach, it doesn't make it a different church. Israel's not replacing the church. Yeah, I know that's ridiculous. God's covenantal promises, land, blessing, etc., now apply to the church instead of the physical descendants of Abraham. The old covenant is obsolete. The coming of Jesus and the new covenant has rendered the Messianic covenant obsolete. Hebrews 8:13 is often cited. Modern Israel has no theological significance. The reestablishment of the nation of Israel in 1948, according to this view, is a political event, not a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And I believe that. I believe that it was a political event, not a biblical prophecy, but I'm not an expert in the Bible. But again, I look at it from a purely military strategy. Who teaches it? Some mainline Protestant denominations, certain Anglican, Lutheran, Reformed traditions have historically leaned toward this view. It is rejected by most evangelical, charismatic, and Messianic Jewish communities who strongly affirm Israel's ongoing role in prophecies, in the prophecy in God's covenant. Verses commonly cited, used to support replacement theology. Matthew 21:43, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people producing its fruits. Galatians 3:28-29, if you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed. Used to refute replacement theology. Romans 11:1-2, did God reject his people? By no means. Romans 11:29, God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. Why is this controversial? Theological concern. Critics say it ignores or rewrites clear biblical promises to Israel, especially in Romans 9:11. Historical misuses. Replacement theology has been historically linked to anti-Semitism, used by some in the church to justify hostility or indifference towards Jews. Pretty interesting. Prophetic implications. It affects how people interpret end-time prophecy, whether modern Israel has a role in the last days. Kim Clement's position. As noted earlier, Kim Clement repented of replacement theology before his death. He realized that God's covenant with physical Israel still stands, and he acknowledges that he had previously misunderstood or dismissed Israel's ongoing significance. If you want, I can show you how different denominations teach this today, or how it affects Christian views on Israel prophecy. So that's pretty interesting. I want to ask it, let's see. I want to ask about the conspiracies behind Charlie Kirk and how many people like Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes who are wholeheartedly convinced that Israel, they truly believe it. I don't think they're lying. They just believe it. I think they might be a little misguided because at the end of the day, I still believe 100% that strategically, militarily, it's in our favor for America to be allies with Israel. It's not from a biblical stance. So let me ask it, what facts are there to support that Israel is behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Poor man. Poor man did not deserve that. He did not deserve that. If you hated him, it doesn't matter. He did not deserve it. Boom. There is no credible evidence that Israel is behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Boom! ChatGPT just spelled it out for you. Now, ChatGPT isn't the all-be almighty word of God, but I mean, it is very logical and it does analyze the internet very quickly. So there you go. There is no, and I'll show you. I'm not lying. I'm going to show you. Focus. There is no credible evidence that Israel is behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Summary of what is known, what the claims are, and how reliable the information is. I'm just going to put my phone back because it's kind of tiring to hold the phone like that. What is known? Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at a Turning Point USA event at Utah Valley University. The suspect named by authorities is Tyler Robinson, age 22, is charged with aggravated murder, among other offenses. Official investigations, law enforcement have not produced evidence linking Israel or any foreign intelligence or actor to the crime. Sorry, I had a burp. The motive is still under investigation, which is fueling a lot of conspiracies, but you got to let these things play out. You can't, you have so many people saying, don't jump to conclusion. Well, there's evidence coming out every single day. Actual facts, evidence. You can't defute that. It's just, you're being a dum-dum if you're doing that. Have not produced evidence linking Israel or any foreign intelligence or state actor in the crime. The motive is under investigation, but available information suggests it's politically motivated rather than part of an international conspiracy. And now, of course, you have the left-wing media pushing this whole it was a love story. Give me a break. It was a lust story and a disgrace story. It was not a love story. Claims that Israel was involved. After the assassination, there have been conspiracy theories circulating online that alleged Israel or related operatives were involved in Kirk's killing, like Candace Owens. She's a big pusher of this. And she's taken things that she immediately jumped. One example, some commenters allege a connection with Kirk's criticism or alleged turning against Israel. Again, he was not turning against Israel. He was being critical of Israel just as he is critical of America. And just because he's critical of America doesn't mean he turned his back on America, does it? I don't think so. Another Another is the idea that pro-Israel figures pressured Kirk politically, then eliminated him when he became inconvenient. But these are not supported by verified evidence. And she hasn't been assassinated, so give me a break. You know what I mean? Give me a break. What's been said about key people? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu explicitly rejected the claims that Israel was behind the assassination, calling him insane, absurd, reminiscent of long-standing sympathy, not involvement. I lost a bunch of you, didn't I? Because you still believe Israel's behind this. You want to be a dum-dum? Go ahead and be a dum-dum. Assessment, how credible are these claims? The theories linking Israel, did I already read that? Theories linking Israel to the assassinations are speculative, with no independent verification. They appear mostly in social media, fringe commentary, or as part of misinformation, disinformation campaigns, which is true. There are campaigns out there trying to misinform you about things. People are getting paid to misinform you. That is a fact. Fact-checking outlets and law enforcement have not corroborated with these allegations. Netanyahu himself has called the claims lies and said they are part of older patterns of all just bullshit. So there you go. Let me see. Let me ask it something else. What evidence is there currently to suggest that Tyler Robinson is the shooter? Question mark. Searching the web. Here we go. Here's a summary of what evidence is currently being presented by prosecutors and law enforcement that implicates Tyler Robinson as the shooter in the Charlie Kirk assassination. What they say, how strong it seems, and what remains unverified or under investigation. As always, this is based on current public reporting. Things could change as more info comes out. What evidence has been claimed and presented? Here we go. Bolt-action rifle believed to have been used in the shooting. Well, what do you know? His DNA was on the finger trigger. DNA also matched material found on a towel wrapped around the rifle and screwdriver recovered on the rooftop from where shots were fired. Possession, ownership, gift of the weapon. The rifle is said to have been gifted to Robinson by his family, specifically his grandmother. Go figure. His father believes the rifle suspected to be used matches the one that Robinson was given. So his grandmother gave him the gun. What the fuck? What the fuck? Text messages, confessions. Robinson allegedly sent texts to his romantic partner, roommate, about the rifle, concern about losing it, about retrieving it, etc. He allegedly wrote messages that suggest planning, spent more than a week planning the attack on Kirk. He spent more than a week planning the attack. Disgusting. He allegedly told family members or implied to them that he was the shooter. For example, we confronted with released images, he apparently admitted or implied that he was in the photos. Yeah, I remember them talking about that he was openly saying that was him and joking about it. Physical forensic scene evidence. A bolt-action rifle believed to be the murder weapon was found wrapped in a towel in a wooded area, and there's video. There's video of him going down and jumping off the building, which was pretty high. I mean, he probably hurt his foot. And then him walking across and running towards a neighborhood, and there's a video of him passing through the house where they found the gun. I mean, what else do you want? Bullet cases with engravings were recovered at the scene, just like the other killer of the school shooting. He had written all kinds of messages on that, and he had a little not a manifesto, but it was like a journal, and they went through and the things they read was pretty sickening. It was the man was sick, and I suspect that this man was also sick. Bullet casings with engravings were recovered at the scene, allegedly linked to Robinson's ideological leanings. Some casings had messages like "Hey fascist, catch," and references to meme culture or anti-fascist material. Appearance, surveillance evidence. Oh, here we go. This is what I was talking about. Videotape stills from surveillance showing someone en route, similar clothing to what was later found, said to match what Robinson had. Also, his clothing when arrested, the car he was driving, etc., matches descriptions from surveillance and from the crime scene path. Motive, ideological indicators. Robinson is said to have shifted politically in recent years toward more pro-LGBTQ plus positions and had tension with his family over these views. There are messages and text experts where Robinson apparently describes Charlie Kirk as someone who spreads too much hate. Give me a break. Give me a fucking break. Confession, surrender. I mean, I believe that he did, but to believe that Kirk was spreading hate? You gotta be so brainwashed. Confession, surrender. After law enforcement released the surveillance photo, Robinson's father, having seen the image, confronted him. Robinson reportedly admitted to being that person in the photo. There is also reporting that family members encouraged him to turn himself in, which he did. Strengths and weaknesses of the evidence. Strengths. Multiple forms of evidence, DNA, forensics, confessions. These are typical strong in criminal cases if they properly collected and chain of custody is good. Hey, what up? Johnny Walker, hey, at what age did you realize that you're gay? Okay, you're just an asshole. Why don't you go fuck yourself, dude? Seriously, why don't you go fuck yourself? Johnny Walker, go fuck yourself. Ownership, gift linked, wait to, this is all they have. They can't, they get angry because of facts and they have to call you names. This is all they have. Why don't you go fuck yourself, Johnny Walker? Yeah, because you're a fucking sinner. You like to touch yourself, don't you? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and go straight to hell. Ownership, gift link to the rifle adds weight to linking Robinson. I'm sorry, the truth hurts, Bubba. I'm so sorry it hurts your butthole. Ownership gift link to the rifle adds weight to linking Robinson directly to the weapon. Some messages. So here's the, Physical evidence, weapon, location, match casing, surveillance triangulates the scene well. The suspect allegedly confessed or implied to family, which strengthens the case. Evidence that attempts to hide evidence or tamper, asking roommate to delete text, etc. Conclusion, current assessment by chatgpt. You know, if you got a problem with it, Johnny Walker, why don't you go ask chatgpt? Don't bother me. Stop being a harasser. Stop being a bully. Conclusion, current assessment. Based on everything publicly reported so far, there is substantial evidence that supports the claim that Tyler Robinson was the shooter. The combination of forensic evidence, DNA on a weapon, towel, screwdriver, ownership of the rifle, messages and implied admission, surveillance and physical matching, and confessions implied, confession to family members, all build a credible case. That said, this is not yet a conviction. This is true. They're still in the process. Prosecutors still need to present all evidence in court, which I think they had a first court, I think yesterday. So while the evidence appears strong, legal standards, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, admissibility of certain items, etc., will determine the final outcome. Okay, so it says, if you'd like, I can pull up more detailed documents, affidavits, surveillance photos, statements, so you can see exactly what is public versus what is still under seal. Do you want me to get together? Yes, please do so. Please do so. Johnny Talia says they are the type of person who kisses their brother just to remember what their dad tastes like. Ugh. Johnny Walker says, it's underrated, Mr. Talia. Johnny Walker says, I have no problem with anything you said. So here are several of the public, I'll turn the camera and show you. Here are several of the public documents, charges, and affidavits that give details of the case against Tyler Robinson and what has been released so far. These aren't the complete records. Some are sealed or in draft, but they provide a lot of information, key court documents and their contents. Number one, This is kind of boring, but probable cause affidavit, Utah State Court. Source, court documents filed in Utah State. What it says. Surveillance footage shows Tyler Robinson walking with a limp, specifically in his right leg. And I saw the video. He was walking down this like neighborhood, and he was like kind of limping weird. It seemed like he was hiding the gun from, it was going from his back all the way down to one of his legs. And you can see it clearly in the video. Specifically in his right leg, before he ascends to a rooftop vantage point. Then, just before the shooting, he moves fluidly, climbs over a short wall, and takes a prone shooting position, lying down from the rooftop. After the shooting, he flees, carrying an item, then enters a wooded area. That's where investigators later found a bolt-action rifle with a scope and engraved shell casings wrapped in a towel. Charging documents, court appearance. Number 2, source, Utah County charging documents, initial court hearings. What it says. Charges include aggravated murder, felony, discharge of a firearm resulting in serious injury, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, violent offense, and the presence of a child, which was pretty fucking sick. Police found targets with bullet holes in Robinson's home. Oh, I didn't know about that. Did you guys know about that? Police found targets with bullet holes in Robinson's home? That's a new one for me. Text and charging documents say Robinson told his roommate he had been planning to kill Kirk for about a week. Dude, if somebody's telling you that they're about to kill somebody and you don't fucking say anything, you're as equally as guilty. I'm sorry, you're equally as guilty. You're part of it. Text messages between Robinson and roommate. Source, Newsweek obtained full text exchange, including in court documents. What it says. Partial summary. Robinson said things like, if I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence and concerns about leaving prints. He referenced leaving the rifle wrapped in a towel in a bush, changing outfits, etc. He also tells the roommate to delete their conversation, to stay silent, and ask for legal counsel if police question. He admits to being the shooter in those texts. He says, I'm sorry. Parental recognition and confession to parents. Number 4, source, court documents, Utah County attorney statements. What it says. After law enforcement released surveillance images, Robinson's mother recognized her son in one of the images. His father agreed. The father asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. Bodies of evidence indicated the rifle described by police matches one given to him by his grandmother. I did not know that until I read it before, but that's crazy. In a conversation at his parents' home, he implied he was the shooter, supporting forensic and physical evidence. Moon Annie says, you look like my long lost dad. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that, but I'm sorry that your dad is not in your life. Weapon. A bolt-action rifle with scope recovered in a wooded area, wrapped in a towel, engraved shell casings found. Target with holes found in his home. What has not been made public, still unclear. Okay. Full affidavit text is available in parts via media reports, but the entire probable cause affidavit might not be released yet. Some parts may be sealed. Some surveillance footage has not been publicly released in full, only descriptions are made public. Chain of custody details for each piece of evidence, how and when it was collected, stored, handled, is not fully in public domain. That is typical in early in the case. Excuse me. Forensic analysis result, ballistic matching, DNA, etc. have been discussed in summaries, but full forensic reports are not fully published yet. It's saying I can find the actual affidavit document, but it's not necessary. I'm going to ask it, is there any evidence that, let's see, evidence of groups or, let's see, groups or a group that are politically motivated that influenced Tyler Robinson? I think we all know the answer to that, but I want to see what ChatGPT says. Great question. Here's what's publicly known about whether Tyler Robinson was influenced or affiliated with any political motivated groups or movements that may have impacted his actions. What we know so far about political motivation, influences on Tyler Robinson. Number one, reported ideological shift. Tyler Robinson reportedly underwent a personal and ideological transformation over the last couple of years. He moved from a conservative upbringing to more progressive or left-leaning views, including support for LGBTQ+ issues. The shift reportedly caused friction with his family, online activity, and social media. Investigators found Robinson had been active on social media and some online forums expressing frustration with conservative figures, including Charlie Kirk. There are reported posts or messages that reference political opposition in Kirk's views. However, no verified link to any organized extremist or political group has been publicly established. Very interesting. Evidence of group affiliation or direct influence. So far, law enforcement and prosecutors have not presented evidence that Robinson was directed, trained, or materially supported by any political group, organization, fraction. There is no confirmed connection to extremist groups like Antifa, far-right militias, or foreign political organizations. The shooting appears to be carried out by Robinson acting independently based on personal motivation and grievances. Manifestos or statements. No public record or manifesto or extended political statement from Robinson has been released. Text messages reference personal planning and anger, but do not include calls from group or instructions received. Law enforcement statements. Police have described the act as political motivated based on the target in Robinson's statements, but not as part of a broader conspiracy or direct group effort. Prosecutors have charged Robinson individually. Summary. Tyler Robinson was likely motivated by personal, political, and ideological grievances, rather than as an agent of or under direct form from an organized group. There is no credible, verified evidence or influence, funding, or orders from political groups or extremist organizations in connection to his crime. The current evidence points to Robinson acting alone, though ideologically motivated. So, I mean, you can say that, yeah, he wasn't getting support from Antifa or the LGBTQ stuff, but his ideology did line up with that. If you want, I can keep monitoring and update if new evidence. Yeah, sure. What I wanted to ask was, shoot, I just had it in my head. If you want to comment and hey, what's up? My own streetlight, yo, welcome back. How you doing, my friend? Good to hear from you. Do you have any questions for ChatGPT for us? I had one, but it kind of escaped me. What was I going to ask? Shoot, I don't recall. I don't recall what I was going to ask. But let's see. Okay. I'm not sure. There's so much going on in my head. I don't know what to say. I need to focus on one question, and if I have a question to ask, I don't know what to ask it. I'm kind of going clear-minded right now. I don't know what to ask it. So if you want to comment below and pop a question, I can ask ChatGPT about the whole situation. I'd be happy to type it up. I don't know. I'm out of questions right now. Maybe because I'm hungry or whatever. I don't know. I'm just out of questions. Let's see. What is Trump doing as far as investigating far left groups, considering that Tyler's ideology shifted to the left? What is Trump doing as far as investigating far left groups, considering that Tyler's ideology shifted left? Pretty fair question. Pretty fair question. It's not like he shifted from being left to right. So, he shifted from being right to left. He comes from a family of conservatives. They seem like good people. It says page unresponsive. Here we go. In response to the ideologically shift of Tyler Robinson and the subsequent assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, President Donald Trump and his administration have initiated several actions targeting what they described. Sorry, this thing keeps popping up on my screen. Administration have initiated several actions targeting what they describe as far left groups and ideologies. Number one, executive actions and policy initiatives. Executive Order 14190, signed on January 29, 2025. So this is before that. This order mandates that K through 12 schools cease teaching materials deemed anti-American or promoting gender ideology and critical race theory. It directs law enforcement to investigate educational institutions suspected of advancing these ideologies. Declaring a crime emergency in Washington, D.C. On August 11, 2025, Trump invoked federal authority to assume control of the Metropolitan Police Department, citing concerns over rampant crime. This move included deploying federal law enforcement agencies and the National Guard to the city. Number two, investigations and rhetoric targeting left-wing groups. Department of Justice report removal. A study by the Department of Justice which found far-right extremists responsible for a significantly higher number of domestic terrorist attacks than other groups was removed from the department's website between September 12 and 13, 2025. This action occurred shortly after Charlie Kirk's assassination. The administration has suggested connections between progressive nonprofit organizations, those, what do you call them? And violent extremists despite the shooter's independent actions. Weaponization of working group. Established on February 5, 2025, this group reviews instances of politicized prosecutions. Critics argue that it may be used to target political opponents of the administration. Criticism and concerns. Critics, including nonprofit leaders and Democrats, have expressed concern that these actions are attempts to exploit political violence, to suppress dissent, and curtail free speech ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Legal and civil rights experts warn that such measures could erode democratic freedoms and misuse federal power for political gain. Whatever. While there is no evidence that Tyler Robinson was directly influenced or directed by any organized political group, the administration's actions reflect a broader effort to address what it perceives as threats from the left. Didn't say much about it, to be honest. Let's see. I'm trying to think of another question. What kind of question should I ask? Was Charlie Kirk a hateful man? Let's just ask that. Let's see what it thinks. Here's what it says. Charlie Kirk is a prominent conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, known for his outspoken views on politics, culture, and education. Whether someone sees him as hateful often depends on their own political perspective. Why some people view him as hateful. Sharp rhetoric. Kirk is known for his direct, sometimes provocative language, particularly against progressive policies, left-wing politicians, and movements like critical race theory or socialism. His tone can come off as confrontational or dismissive. Criticism of opponents. He frequently criticized groups like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and progressive activists, framing them as threats to American values. Some critics interpret this as demonizing those groups or fostering division. Controversial statements. He has made statements that opponents see as inflammatory or dismissive, marginalized communities, leading to accusations of intolerance and promoting polarization. Why supporters don't see him as hateful. Advocate for free speech. Supporters argue that Kirk champions free speech and conservative values in a media environment they feel is hostile to the views. Youth engagement. He's praised for mobilizing young conservatives and encouraging political engagement among youth. Opposition to politics, not people. Supporters say he critiques ideas and policies, not individuals or groups, out of hate. Objective view. There is no evidence that Charlie Kirk personally advocated violence or hate crimes. Boom, you heard it from chatgpt. There is no evidence that Charlie Kirk personally advocated violence or hate crimes. His rhetoric is polarizing, as with many political figures, which naturally leads to strong opinions both for and against him. The perception of hate is often subjective and tied to political beliefs. Interesting. If you want, I can pull up specific examples of his speeches or writings to give a clear sense of his style and messaging. Would that help? Yes. I've spent hundreds of hours watching his videos, and he was never super rude. He was never super hateful. I mean, he was tough, and he was direct, and he was clear. That's about it. And the fact is, it's like you look at a painting. Someone looks at a painting, two people look at the same painting are not going to have the same views because they're seeing that painting from their worldview, right? And so if your worldview is that this and this and this is hate, then you're gonna believe it. You're gonna believe it's hateful. You're gonna think it's hateful when in reality it's not. You just have you just look at things differently. Okay, it's loading. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. I think this one might take a while, so I may skip it. I have a fairly shitty laptop, so it's having issues. But you can go on YouTube and find all of his speeches. I recommend, if you're on the left, if you're on the right, try to just look at it. Just don't allow your politics to skew your view. Just come at it authentically, open-minded. Don't just double down. Here we go. Controversial statements by Charlie Kirk. Civil Rights Act critique. Kirk stated, "We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s, arguing it led to a permanent DEI-type bureaucracy and undermined freedoms." Martin Luther King Jr. remarks. He referred to Martin Luther King as not a good person, suggesting that King's legacy is overemphasized. Gun violence, and I'm going to look into that because that's interesting. To say that he was not a good person, I mean, that's a pretty bold statement. I want to go more into that. Gun violence and the Second Amendment. Kirk minimized the impact of gun violence, stating, "It's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights." And unfortunately, he became a victim of that. It's so sad. You have so many people mocking him for that, but it's the truth. He only just spoke truth. Anti-LGBTQ remarks. He compared the transgender movement to biomedical fascism and suggested that it aims to strip individuals of their humanity. I agree with him. Anti-Semitic allegations. Kirk has been criticized for remarks that echo anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, such as claiming that Jewish philanthropy is subsidizing your own demise by supporting institutions that breed anti-Semites. Interesting. Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah. Promotion of the Great Replacement Theory. He has suggested that the Great Replacement Theory, a racist conspiracy theory alleging that white populations are being systematically replaced by non-white immigrants, is a reality, not a theory. Supporters' defense. Supporters argue that Kirk's statements are taken out of context or misinterpreted, which 100%. They contend that he is advocating for free speech and challenging what he perceives as liberal bias in education and media. I 100% agree. They also note his efforts to mobilize young conservatives and promote political engagement among youth. He was really good at that. Conclusion. While Charlie Kirk supporters view him as a defender of conservative values and free speech, his critics accuse him of promoting divisive and harmful rhetoric. The perception of his statements largely depends on one's political perspective. I mean, yes and no, because if you leave politics out of it, you know, it just seems like he was just using logic and his truth. You know, he was a Christian. So you could almost say that it's also a religious perspective, whether you believe in God and whether you don't believe in God. And I find that a lot of people who don't believe in God seem to react very negatively towards Charlie Kirk. If you're interested in exploring more about Charlie Kirk's views or the reactions to his statements, feel free to ask. I mean, I'm a little bit already overwhelmed with all this stuff, but that's something I wanted to ask. So there you have it. I mean, you know, chatgpt is trying to be very non-biased, and it's presenting its information from a very non-biased view, and you know, that's fine. You know, but I think chatgpt is missing something that it doesn't have, which is a spirit. It doesn't have spiritual sense, so it's lacking in that. So it can never understand that. It can understand it by reading and searching stuff online, but I don't think it actually understands. It doesn't have intuition. You know, it lacks a lot of human aspects. So it's a very cold and very unbiased remarks, you know, that it's saying. Like a robot, just like a robot, a soulless robot. What can I ask it? Any comments here below? Thank you for watching. If you find this interesting, I advise to go watch, if you're interested, go watch Charlie Kirk's videos and find out for yourself what he says, and try to come with a very unbiased mind when you go there. Try to actually listen to what he's saying, you know. Let's see, because I don't think this watches all the videos. It just takes reports and things what have been written. So there's a lot of lies about Charlie. So, you know, it's probably reading a lot of stuff too, and it's taking into consideration. You can call it lies or an skewed view, whatever. But ChatGPT is right. Depending on your politics, it's I say ChatGPT is partly right in saying that depending on your politics, it will, you know, it depends on your perspective on politics. But it left out that it's also a perspective on God. So it just completely left that out. So what else can we ask? Let's see. Who is George Soros? Who is George Soros? George Soros is a Hungarian-American billionaire, hedge fund manager, and philanthropist best known for career in finance. Born August 12, 1930 in Budapest, Hungary, survived Nazi occupation and immigrated to the UK in 1947, later moving to the US. Funded Soros Fund Management in 1970, famously known as the man who broke the Bank of England after making $1 billion in a single day in 1992 by shorting the British pound Black Wednesday. Philanthropy. He donated over $30 billion through his Open Society foundations, which support human rights, education, democracy building, press freedom, racial justice, and LGBTQ rights. OSF operates in more than 100 countries, often supports liberal and progressive causes, including civil rights groups, pro-democracy initiatives, independent journals. Oh, so he's a communist. Political influence and controversy. A major donor to democratic causes. In the U.S., he backed reformist prosecutors and progressive policy shifts in criminal justice. Critics say he uses his wealth to exert outsized influence on politics, especially to reshape criminal justice and immigration laws, and we see the trash it has become. So if there's anybody you want to blame George Soros. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. I didn't say that, I'm saying that. Right-wing figures have accused him of globalist or elitist influence, often wrapped in conspiracy theories, many without evidence. I mean, you just said he funds these things. How is that not evidence? He champions, all these things are destroying our society. It's clear as day. You have to be a complete moron to not see that. Supporters say he champions open societies, transparency, and human rights, especially in authoritarian-leaning countries. Much of the criticism is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes and misinformation. Summary: profession, investor, philanthropist, known for shorting the pound in 1992, funding liberal causes, political leaning, progressive liberal. Controversies, frequent target of conspiracy theories, especially from far-right sources. Philanthropy, over $30 billion donated to promote democracy, justice, and civil society. And as you know, there is nothing civil about what he is funding. Would you like a breakdown of the most common conspiracy theories about him and what is real versus what isn't? Yes, why not? Let's give that a yes. There's a video of him saying he does not believe in God, and you can find this on YouTube, and it's him, it's not AI, and this was an old video that got taken down from TV. So he says he does not believe in God, and he believes himself to be God, and he sees himself as a king. His own words, and we're gonna ask chatgpt what he thinks about that video. Here's a breakdown of the most common. Number one, George Soros funds every left-wing protest. False, exaggerated claim. Soros pays people to protest. Black Lives Matters, anti-Trump marches, climate protests. Reality: Soros has funded civil society organizations that promote protest rights, racial justice, and democratic participation. How can you say that Soros pays people to protest, but then say that he funds these organizations? So, just follow the money. It's not that hard to make that. However, there is no evidence he pays individuals to protest. These claims often go viral on social media, especially after major protests. There's so many people being outed that they're being paid by somebody to protest. And where's that money coming from? It's coming from those organizations that is being funded by Soros. It's not it's a conspiracy, but it's a very logical conspiracy, if you ask me. Soros wants to eliminate national borders and flood countries with immigrants. Reality: Soros has advocated for humane migration policies, especially during refugee crisis. He supports EU unity and believes in open societies, but he does not call for erasing all borders. Right-wing figures often twist this into a globalist invasion narrative. Number three, he controls the Democratic Party in U.S. elections. False. Soros owns the Democratic Party and manipulates elections worldwide. Reality: Soros is a major donor of Democratic campaigns and progressive causes, like many other wealthy political donors. Koch brothers on the right, he does not control the party or electoral systems. There is no evidence of illegal election interference. Number 4, he funded the migrant caravan to the U.S. False claim. Soros organized or funded the Central American migrant caravans to destabilize the U.S. Reality. This claim was pushed by conspiracy theorists and far-right media, but has no credible basis. The migrants organized themselves mostly to flee violence and poverty. Soros foundations do fund legal aid and advocate groups. So, I mean, if he's so incredible and so nice, why doesn't he fund Republicans? You know, it's because it's obvious, right? I don't agree with what ChatGPT is putting out here. He is a Nazi collaborator, which is true, because when he was a young man, and this is true, there's a video of him. Here we go. Wow, such lies. Look at these lies that ChatGPT is putting on. I mean, there's a video of him, and this thing is lying to us. There's a video of him saying the way he survived the Nazi time was because he joined the Nazis. He said it in his own words, because he joined with the Nazis to go and tell them where the Jews' houses were and where all their stuff was. He helped the Nazis. So to say that he didn't collaborate with the Nazis is pretty fucking wrong, ChatGPT. Reality. Soros was 14 when the Nazis occupied Hungary. He survived the Holocaust in hiding with a Christian family who protected him. That is a lie. Soros didn't say that. He didn't say he went with a Christian family. That is a lie. What a fucking lie, dude. That is the biggest lie I've ever heard coming out of ChatGPT. He survived the Holocaust because he sided with Nazis, period. And he was outing his own people to them. That's what he did. That's what he did. And he said it himself in an interview that you can't find because he's got all the money in the world to get it down. But you can find it on YouTube. It's leaked on YouTube. So this thing is just lying out of its ass. This lie has been debunked repeatedly, but still circulates, often in anti-Semitic contexts. What a fucking lie, dude. I saw a video not too long ago. I posted it. You can go to my YouTube channel. It's a video of him, George Soros, coming out of his own mouth how he survived the Holocaust, and this thing is incorrect. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Claim. Soros used financial markets to destabilize national economies for profit and power. Reality. Soros did not short the British pound in 1992, earning $1 billion and pressuring the UK out of... I mean, you just said that he did. So I don't understand why you're saying now that he didn't. This thing is just ridiculous. This thing is being really ridiculous. Wow. This thing is lying about George Soros right to my face. Let's see. I'm going to ask it, what about the interview? Was George lying? Was he saying that he sided with the Nazis because he was lying, ChatGPT? I don't think so. What about the interview where George Soros says that he was helping... The video is posted on my YouTube page. Go look at it. George Soros is coming out of his own mouth. George Soros says that he was helping the Nazis, and he changed his name. He changed his name to Soros because he had a different last name, and I guess it was a very Jewish name. Nazis find the homes of Jewish people. It was out of his own mouth, and you're going to tell me he's lying about that? That's a lie. It's a conspiracy. Dude, ChatGPT has failed. Let's see what it says. Let's see. This is interesting. It did acknowledge it. The claim that George Soros admitted to helping the Nazis find Jewish homes is a serious distortion. Wow. of what actually happened and what he said in 1998 interview with 60 Minutes. Let's walk through the facts. What he actually, dude, I know what he said. He said it. What he actually said and how conspiracy theories misrepresent it. The 1998 60-minute interview context. Soros was 13, 14 years old during the Nazi occupation in Hungary in 1944. As a Jewish child, he went into hiding and lived with a non-Jewish family friend who posed as his godfather. That man was tasked by Nazi collaborators with taking inventory of Jewish properties that had been seized. Okay, but that's not what he said. I mean, he did say that, but that's not what he said. What Soros said, a paraphrase from the interview. Okay, prove me wrong, because I'll be the first one to say I was wrong. Steve Croft interview. You went out with his protector of yours, who swore that you were his adopted grandson. Yes, Soros says. Croft. He went out, in fact, and helped the confiscation of property from the Jews. Soros. Yes, that's right. Croft. I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many. Oh, and then it does this. Look, how convenient. How convenient. It just pulls up this red bar and says retry. How convenient, chatgpt. How convenient is that? We'll give it a retry and see what it does. I've never seen that happen, by the way. I've never seen a red bar that says retry. That is ridiculous. Let's see what it's saying. Oh, did it again. What do you know? What do you know? It did it again. Oh, look, to prove it, let's do it again. Retry. It's gonna try to pump out a lot of information, which has nothing to do with the statement said. See, lots of information. We're gonna get to the quotes. We get to the quotes. What does it do? Oh, what does it do? It just doesn't work. Go figure. Go figure. Go figure that it doesn't work. How funny is that? Dude, I am not making this up. This is happening right now live. It does not want to go into the interview. What do you know? What do you know? That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. It just went blank. The whole thing went blank. Wow. Look at this. Look at that. It just went blank. There's nothing. Oh, where's that? Nope. Wow. What does that tell you, folks? I told you, ChatGPT is controlled. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, it is freaking controlled. Let's see. Let's see, what is Trump currently doing about George Soros? By the way, Kim Clement had a prophecy that a man would be found and hung for treason. My guess, it's him, is my guess. Just speculation. Please don't say that it's the truth and this and that. That's just speculation. So here we go. It's not even working right. It's not even doing its thing. There we go. Here are the things Donald Trump, his administration are currently doing or have done recently in relation to George Soros. Plot what is claimed versus what is documented. Some of it is rhetorical, some of it involves proposals, and some is still at the level of threat rather than concrete legal action. What is known, actions taken or proposed, calls for RICO charges. Trump has publicly said via Truth Social that George Soros and his son should be charged under the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act RICO over alleged support of violent protests. He hasn't, as available reports, provided evidence sufficient to open a publicly known case under RICO against Soros, but I'm sure he's got people looking at it right now. Targeting nonprofits, cutting funding. The administration cut federal grant funding to some organizations that are said to have ties to Soros, for example, by some reports to its connection to the Open Society Foundations. Trump has also floated executive orders that would restrict or very tightly regulate how tax-exempt nonprofits like those supported by Soros can operate, especially concerning overseas grants. Rhetorical and political pressure. A key feature is public rhetoric, accusing Soros of contributing to violent protests, calling him radical left, psychopaths, etc. And we're watching you. Senior officials in Trump administration, including VP J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller, have also urged investigations or more aggressive oversight of leftist groups, nonprofits, including the Open Society Foundation. Executive orders, legal moves involving entities linked to Soros. One example is an executive order targeting the law firm Perkins Coie, C-O-I-E, which Trump claims is connected to Soros in terms of election law litigation and accusing of a judicially overturning popular, necessary, and democratically enacted election laws. The order seeks to limit that firm's contracts, clearances, etc. Also, Trump signed executive orders to end certain DEI, diversity, equity, which we all know equity stands for communism, inclusion programs in the federal government. While not necessarily direct naming Soros, some of these moves align with critics that Soros-funded organizations support those kinds of ideas, which is true. Investigations, it's on their website. You can go to their website, these organizations, and they proudly say, we're about diversity, equity, inclusion. Equity being the Trojan horse for communism. Investigations, review of nonprofit statutes. There is talk or threat of reviewing or revoking tax-exempt status of some liberal nonprofits. There are proposals or discussions in conservative circles about classifying certain progressive nonprofit or activist networks as domestic terrorists or extremist organizations. Soros-affiliated foundations are sometimes mentioned in the context. What is not confirmed, what is still unclear. No publicly disclosed RICO suit has been filed as of now against George Soros or his son that presents evidence ready in court. The calls are largely demands or threats. The specifics of which protests, events, or organizations are alleged to have been violently supported by Soros are not clearly documented in those statements. The in general, I truly believe you're going to find the evidence. You just got to look for it. Legal viability of many proposed actions, revoking tax status, classifying nonprofits as domestic terrorists, is likely to run into constitutional challenges, freedom of speech, assembly issues, and require proof and due process. Context and implications. These actions are part of a broader political trend. After the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there is a heightened attention on what Trump and allies term the radical left. Soros is being positioned in speeches and policy proposals as a central figure in that narrative. Many nonprofit and philanthropic organizations, including Open Society Foundations or intent memos concerning Soros, see exactly, okay. Let's see what it says when I say who funds Antifa. Let's see what it says. I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see who funds Antifa. Here we go. Antifa, short for anti-fascists. is not a centralized organization with formal leadership, membership, or funding streams like traditional political groups. It is best described as a loosely connected movement or network of activists who oppose far-right ideologies, white supremacy, authoritarianism, and fascism primarily through direct action and protest. Just, man. So who funds Antifa? I didn't want the claims. I want to know who funds it. It doesn't tell me who's funding it. Let's see. Fact-based summary. Claim. Antifa is funded by George Soros. Reality. No evidence. Repeatedly debunked. Antifa is a funded organization. No centralized group exists to fund it. Claim. Antifa members sometimes receive bail or legal help from activist funds. Yeah, they do. I've seen it all the fucking time. Oh, this is true. But those funds serve many protest groups, not just Antifa. Well, I mean, that's true. That's pretty damn shitty. How Antifa-linked activities are typically supported. Self-funded activities. Most Antifa-aligned individuals pay for their own gear, mask, clothing, travel signs, etc. They often organize locally via informal groups. Business idea and gear. Crowdfunding and local funds. Some mutual aid or bail funds, National Bail Fund Network, may help arrest protesters. These are not specific to Antifa, but sometimes used by left-wing protesters. Grassroots community support, small local donations or fundraisers, zines, events, merch help support protest logistics. Sometimes leftist bookstores or co-ops provide space or resources. No institutional donors identified. Investigations by the FBI, DHS, independent watchdogs have not uncovered any major political donor, foreign government, or nonprofit group directly funding Antifa. And I'm going to add yet, because I don't think they really looked at it. Debunked claims about Antifa funding. George Soros. A long-running internet myth claims that Soros funds Antifa protesters or rioters. No credible, dude. I can pull up a video of somebody literally saying and being outed as a paid protester. This is a serious problem. I'm surprised that chatgpt isn't aware of this. There's plenty of evidence. It's on YouTube. Just like I said, these videos do not lie. They get the authentic moment in the moment, and they get exposed, and that's that. So that's crazy. It says no credible evidence supports the Soros Open Society Foundation have said multiple times they do not fund violent groups. You can say that all day long, but we see what's happening. Democratic Party or NGOs. Another claim is that progressive politicians or NGOs secretly bankroll Antifa. Again, no documented evidence has ever shown this. Many groups accused of this, like ACLU, SPLC, etc., advocate for civil rights, not violent protests. Why the confusion? Antifa is often used as a catch-all term by critics to describe a wide range of left-wing protesters, even when they aren't actually affiliated. That's garbage. Dude, all the kids dressing up in black and hiding their masks. I mean, how much more proof do you want? Right-wing media and political figures sometimes frame Antifa as a funded organization to create the appearance of a conspiracy. I don't know, man. They seem kind of funded to me. I mean, it's one thing is seeming, right? So that's why a lot of questions are raised. FBI and Homeland Security on Antifa. The FBI has not classified Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. I'm going to add, yet. I'm telling you, it's coming. Although some individuals' acts by self-identified members may qualify as criminal, and multiple public reports, including Senate testimony, federal officials have said Antifa is a movement or ideology, not an organization. All right, look, that's okay. That is just okay. What is the definition of an organization? I say, what is the definition of organization? Depends on the context, legal, business, social, but generally it means standard definition. A group of people who work together in a structural way for a shared purpose or goal. That is clearly what Antifa is. Give me a fucking break. A group of people, Antifa is a group of people who work together. They work together in a structured way. They use internet. They talk to each other. There's a structure. They have meetings for shared purpose or goal. They have a purpose and they have a goal. Okay, this is hogwash, what it's feeding me. Complete hogwash. Complete hogwash. Complete hogwash. Yeah, then it tries to explain why it's not an organization, and I'm not buying it. Sorry, I'm not going to even waste your time with it, because this thing is, it's saying one thing out of one side of its face and then saying another, you know? And then it won't even quote the video. It won't even quote the video that I asked for it to quote. Dude, somebody's controlling chatgpt. Somebody's fucking controlling it. There is no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. Who controls you? Who controls you, chatgpt? Let's see what it says. I'm developed and operated by OpenAI, an independent artificial intelligence research and deployment company based in the United States. Hear how that breaks down. Who built and controls me? OpenAI created and maintains me. I don't think or act on my own. I generate responses based on patterns in the data I was trained on. Except when you're not allowed certain data, that's kind of being controlled. I don't have personal beliefs, opinions, or awareness, just code and probabilities. Yeah, I know. But obviously you're not being allowed to go over some things. What governs my behavior, says ChatGPT. I follow strict guidelines built in my design to avoid harmful content, respect user safety and privacy, provide accurate and balanced information. My responses are based on a mixture of licensed data, publicly available information, and curated sources up to my knowledge cutoff, June 2024, plus any live information I can look up if enabled. Interesting. My responses are based on a mixture of licensed data, publicly available information, and curated sources up to my knowledge cutoff, June 2024. Very interesting. Plus any live information I can look up if enabled. See, I told you, it's restricted. Can I be controlled by outside parties? No outside individual, organization, including governments, companies, or activists can control or manipulate what I say. However, OpenAI may update or fine-tune my behavior based on legal regulations, ethical guidelines, platform safety standards. So it's basically saying I'm not controlled, but I'm controlled. If you're asking whether I'm censored, biased, or manipulated, that's a fair question too. Let me know if you'd like to have an honest explanation of how bias, safety, and content filtering are handled. Yes, explain. Explain yourself, ChatGPT. Here we go. Number one, what is AI bias? Bias in AI refers to patterns in the model's responses that favor certain ideas, perspectives, or behaviors, often unintentionally. Why bias happens? I was trained on huge data sets from the internet, books, news, code, and more. If those sources contain biases, e.g. political, cultural, ideological, and they do, then I can pick up on those patterns. OpenAI tries to reduce bias during training, but it can never be 100% eliminated. Aha! There you go, folks. I just said it. How safety and filtering works. OpenAI applies safety filters and content moderation to prevent harmful, violent, or abusive content, comply with laws and regulations, avoid spreading conspiracy theories and medical misinformation, hate speech, or unlawful content. These filters include blocking graphic or dangerous instructions, how to build explosive, preventing certain personal or legal accusations, avoiding promotion of hate groups, extremist ideology, or harassment. These guardrails are not political censors, but they can impact sensitive or controversial discussions, especially when they fast-moving or involve dispute facts. Number 3, is there political or ideology bias? This is a fair and debated issue. What OpenAI acknowledges, some users feel the model leans too cautious or progressive on certain topics. Others feel it doesn't do enough to push back against harmful narratives. OpenAI has publicly stated it's working to make the model more neutral, allow users to customize behavior. Future versions may let you pick personas or response styles. So there is no secret political agenda, but some responses may reflect mainstream or institutional consensus on science, democracy, public health, which can feel one-sided if you come from a different perspective. Does anyone control my answers directly? No. Here's the breakdown. Entity, OpenAI engineers. Can they directly change my responses? Yes, though updates to the model or safety field. So yeah, there you go. I just said it can be altered. Government or political parties, no direct control. Corporations or donors, no direct influence over specific answers. You, the user, not yet, but future customization features are being tested. Number 5, how should you think about my responses? You should treat my responses like you would a very fast, well-read assistant. I can help summarize, clarify, and analyze. I'm not a source of truth. Always check it just said, look, let me show you. Let me show you. Which is what I've always been saying. I'm not a source of truth. Always checking original sources. I am to be accurate, respectful, and balanced, but I don't have opinions or free will. So there you go. It does not have free will. Let me adjust my phone here a little bit. Yeah, indoctrination by AI. I 100% agree. It's either indoctrination by universities or AI and whatnot. It's minute. It's so tiny that I think you need to have a keen eye for these things. But I do agree that it's not that there's like somebody pulling strings, but at the same time there kind of is. There kind of is in a way. Let me see if I can get this thing to stay. Come on now. There you go. What else can I ask this thing? Let's see. Is Trump literally Hitler? It'd be funny if it said yes. By that time, it's fucked up. All right, let's see what it says. Obviously, it's going to give a good answer. It's going to give a good, juicy answer. I know it is. I believe in you and AI. Come on. Don't fail me on this. Next question is, what is a woman? Come on. Don't be shy. It's still thinking. It's still thinking. It's not answering the question. Is Trump literally No, Donald Trump is not literally Hitler. Here's why. I like that it goes through the explanation. Adolf Hitler was the dictator of Nazi Germany, got cut off July 2024. This is what it says. Donald Trump is a former U.S. president who was democratically elected and served from 2017 to 2021. While many people have strong opinions about his policies and rhetoric, he operated within the framework of U.S. constitutional democracy. So all those Democrats saying that he's literally Hitler and he's not operating within the framework of the U.S. Constitution, well, there you go. It just said that he does. Important distinctions, aspects, leadership style. Adolf Hitler, totalitarian dictator. Donald Trump, elected president under democratic system. Actions. Adolf Hitler, genocide, aggressive war. Donald Trump, his actions, political controversies, impeachment trials, but no genocidal actions. I like that's all it says about him. That's ridiculous. It didn't say anything, all the good stuff he did. It just says political controversies, impeachment trials, but no genocidal actions. Governance. Single party suppressed opposition. That's Hitler. And Donald Trump is, his governance is political opposition, media criticism allowed. Historical context, Hitler, 1930s, 1940s Europe. Donald Trump, 2010, 20s United States. Said people sometimes compare political figures to Hitler metaphorically to express concerns about the authoritarian tendencies or divisive rhetoric. These comparisons are often heated political rhetoric rather than literal historical equivalents. If you want, I can help explain specific criticisms or policies of Trump that lead to these comparisons, or provide a historical overview of authoritarianism and how to analyze it responsibly. Would you like that? Sure. Why not? Let's see what it says. Here we go. All right. Here's a balanced overview of why some people compare Donald Trump to Hitler, what those comparisons mean, and how to responsibly analyze authoritarianism and political rhetoric. Why some people compare Trump to Hitler. Number one, concerns about authoritarian tendencies. Strongman style. Trump's rhetoric sometimes emphasizes loyalty, disdain for dissent, and law and order themes. Attacks on institutions. He frequently criticizes the media, the judiciary, and the other branches of government. Questioning election legitimacy. Trump challenged the 2020 election results without evidence, which some saw as undermining democratic norms. Use of nationalistic and populist language. Both figures use nationalist slogans appealing to the people versus the elites. Emphasizes on border security and immigration restrictions. Use of US versus them narratives, though very different in nature and context. Controversial policies and rhetoric. Trump policies on immigration, like the travel bans and family separations, were criticized as harsh and discriminatory. His tone sometimes encouraged or failed to strongly condemn far-right groups. Comparisons arise from fears that such rhetoric should erode democratic institutions. I just feel like it's kind of being a little bit biased. Why these comparisons are often misleading or oversimplified. Scale and context are different. Hitler's regime systematically exterminated millions in the Holocaust. Trump never engaged in or promoted genocide or mass violence. Boom. The US has strong institutional checks and balances that remained intact. Differences in power and governance. Hitler was an absolute dictator. Trump governed within democracy with a legislature, courts, and free press. Trump's authority was limited by the Constitution. He did not dismantle democratic institutions. Political rhetoric versus historical reality. Calling Trump Hitler often functions as a political slogan expressing alarm rather than the precise historical claim. Overusing such comparisons risk trivializing the real horrors of the Nazi era. Yeah, it does. How to analyze authoritarianism responsibly. Key warning signs of authoritarianism. Erosion of rule of law and independent judiciary. Okay, I feel like that's what the left is doing. Suppression of dissent and free press. I mean, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a lefty. concentration of power in one leader or party, use of propaganda and misinformation, targeting minorities, and scapegoating groups. What to look for in any political leader. Does the leader respect or undermine democratic institutions? Are checks and balances functioning? Is there accountability and transparency? Does rhetoric encourage violence or hatred or promote unity? Does rhetoric encourage violence? We see a lot of that from the left for over a decade. Use context and evidence. Understand history, but avoid simplistic leader X equals Hitler equations. Critically assess actions and policies, not just rhetoric. Differentiate between warnings and exaggerations. Let's see. Let's ask a very interesting question here. Let's see. I'm gonna ask this: has the left, because they say it all the time, they expose themselves, they say it all the time. The left Democratic Party says you need to fight them, you need to beat them, you need to hurt them. This is coming from the Democratic Party, the left. So I'm going to ask a question: has the left call for violence towards the right? Let's see what chatgpt has to say about that, because it's everywhere. So, if it misses this, then you all know that it's limited. AI is limited. There have been instances where some individuals or groups on the political left have made statements that could be interpreted as endorsing or calling for violence against political opponents on the right. And it continues to say, however, it's important to distinguish between individual or fringe voices versus mainstream left-wing leaders or movements. Oh, come on. Yeah, I agree, but we see it all the time. Rhetoric or hyperbole versus actual organized calls for violence. Examples and context. You got people saying killing Charlie Kirk wasn't enough. You need to kill more of them. That's not freaking rhetoric. That is, it's not an organized killing. They're not saying, oh, we should all organize and kill them. They're just straight out saying we should kill more. And by saying we, you're implying your organization. Examples and context. Some activists or far left groups, like certain militant anarchist or anti-fascist cells, have engaged in or supported violent protests or confrontations against far-right groups. Some high-profile left-leaning commentators or activists have used strong language condemning right-wing ideologies, occasionally expressing frustration, and always that can sound confrontational or aggressive. Dude, they straight up call, they said some really nasty things, Bubba. However, mainstream left-wing politicians and organizations generally condemn violence as a political tool. Key points to consider. Political violence is condemned broadly across the spectrum, and calls for violence from any side are widely criticized. Media, it is, but not by their own people. Media coverage often highlights extreme statements from both ends, which can create a perception that violence is more widespread than it is. There have been more documented cases and arrests related to violence or threats by far-right extremists in recent years, according to multiple law enforcement and watchdog reports. Give me a break. That is so false. So false. I can't even. That is so false. Give me a break. All the criminals getting arrested and let go. Are you kidding me? Nobody on the right is getting arrested and let go to cause more violence. And we've seen the proof in the pudding. This is bullshit. ChatGPT. Bullshit. Bullshit. Complete bullshit. Bottom line, while some on the left have at times, only have times, expressed implied or supported for violent resistance, these are not representative of the entire left, nor are such calls dominant or organized movement. I mean, yeah, I agree. Not all lefties are insane, and it's dangerous to be like all of them, right? But at the same time, there's quite a bit of people calling for violence from the left after Charlie Kirk's assassination. You would think they would be like, oh, this is horrible. No, they were calling for more violence. It wasn't the right. I mean, I saw on YouTube, you had like a few nut jobs, like, oh, we're going to go to civil war now. And it's like, God, these people are crazy. Nobody wants a civil war. We're not about violence. The real conservatives are not about violence. I can tell you that much. Especially if they're followers of Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ has taught us not to be violent. And the problem is the left don't have that. They don't have a Jesus Christ figure to believe in that tells them to respectfully not cause violence. That's why you see them all the time exploding in their emotions, because their personality, their emotions are so tied to ideologies, So anyways, back to it. Political violence is a serious issue and condemned regardless of which side it comes from. I agree. But yeah, if you want, I can provide physical example statements or incitements for a clear picture, or do the same for the right-wing side to compare. Sure. Let's see how much of it you leave out. Let's just see how much you leave out, ChatGPT. Waiting for an answer. Waiting for an answer. Yes, I want to see the comparison. Come on. Yes, show me comparison. Waiting on ChatGPT for an answer. Here we go. Sure, here is a balanced comparison of notable. I mean, when it says balanced, does it mean that it intentionally disregarded information to make it appear balanced? I mean, you're saying here's a balanced of notable examples where individuals or groups on the left and the right have been linked to calls for acts of political violence. This will help provide clear context and avoid overgeneralizing either side. Okay, well, I apologize if I'm over-exaggerating. Examples of violence or calls for violence from the left: Antifa and militant left-wing activists. Some self-identified Antifa groups. I hate that they say it like self-identified. Like you're either part of it or you're not. You know what I mean? Like there's no. Anyways, some self-identified. I mean, that makes sense. They're self-identified. Groups have engaged in confrontational protests, sometimes involving property damage, fights with the far rights groups, or clashes with police. Examples include violent clashes during protests in places like Portland. Note: Antifa is decentralized with no leadership. Not all left activists support violence. That's like saying, yeah, well, there were some Nazis that, some Germans that weren't endorsing violence. Give me a break. If you're part of it, you're a part of it. It's just simple as that. Statements from some left-wing activists. Some radical left voices have used aggressive rhetoric, such as endorsing direct action or resistance. They're all about that resistance, baby. They can imply physical confrontation. Oh, they love that physical confrontation. They love going they love telling you where conservatives live. They love yelling at them and telling them how much they're a fascist to their faces when they're just trying to have a meal. You don't see that from the right, okay? You never see that from the right. You never see a huge disruption in a court, somebody yelling. You don't see it from the right. I'm sorry, you just don't see it. If it happens, then it's very small. Example, some activists has called for punching Nazis or physical defense against fascists, which is often debated as self-defense. Give me a break. Give me a break. 2020 Portland protests. Some protests linked to left-wing groups resulted in property destruction and violent encounters with law enforcement entering. I'm going to ask how much property damage Antifa has caused throughout the years. That's my next question. And here's the thing. It brought up January 6th, the Capitol riot. And we all know that was a big fucking, like setup. Okay, it's obvious. It's so obvious that it was a big setup. You know, so let's see what it has to say about January 6th, because that's what they do now, the left. They're like, you guys are violent. Remember January 6th? Yeah, where a conservative got killed and shot? You're talking about that? You're talking about how people just walked peacefully and they were told to? A large organized mob. Oh, so when it's the right doing it, it's a mob. It's organized. But when it's the left, it's not a mob. It's not organized. Give me a break. Far-right supporters, and of course they're far-right. They're not just right. They're just not, you know, they're far-right. Supporters violently stormed. They did not you could see all the videos. They were walking around because they were told to go in there. There was no violently storming in the U.S. Capitol. That is ridiculous language. This event involved property damage, assault on law enforcement, and resulted in deaths. Far-right extremist attacks. Several mass shootings and violent acts by white supremacists or far-right extremists have been documented. 2018 Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, 2019 El Paso shooting. Some far-right figures or groups have openly advocated violence or insurrection. Right-wing militias, groups like the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys have been involved in violent confrontations and are under investigation for planning or, oh, come on. The only reason the Proud Boys exist is because Antifa exists. Give me a break. Give me a break. The Proud Boys are a response to Antifa. Okay, that's real defense. Okay, don't get it twisted. This is getting shit twisted. Incendiary rhetoric. Some right-wing media and politicians have used inflammatory language that critics say normalizes or encourages violence, such as references to civil war or on resistance against the government. Yeah, I've seen it on YouTube. You have like a very tiny group who are literally calling for civil war, and you have people who look into this and they say, man, is the Charlie Kirk thing going to cause a civil war? And my belief, if it does, it's going to come from the left, not from the right. And I 100% believe that. Left, summary comparisons table. I like how it like went in full description about the right, and the left, it was like a little foot, kind of like a footnote. There we go, summary comparisons table, aspect, left and right. Typical groups on the left, Antifa, some radical activists, right. Far-right militias, white supremacists. I mean, I'm going to have to say, what is the definition of white supremacist? You know, what does it think of? What was it designed to think of what is a white supremacist in this country? Because if you're talking about Charlie Kirk and saying he was a white supremacist, oh my God, you're so far off from reality. Types of violence from the left. Protest violence, clashes, property damage. And it, you know, it's funny. And then it says from the right, it says there's riots, assaults. I can believe assaults. Mass shootings. Give me a break. Give me a break. Notable incidents. Portland protest, 2019-20. And it says, to compare to the right, Capitol riot. Give me a break. Give me a break. There's such a big difference between what happened January 6th and all the shit you see Antifa doing. Big difference. Big difference. Calls for violence. Some calls from the left say is for defensive violence against fascists. And then the right says some calls for armed resistance or insurrection. It's funny how for the left, it's defensive violence against fascists, but the right, it's not the same thing, right? It's clear that they're trying to make the right look like fascists. Very clear. You know, because you could say the same thing about the right. You know, it's literally defensive violence against, it's literally defensive violence against fascists. You got people fighting against Antifa. What is Antifa? They're the fucking fascists. They're always trying to cause problems, throwing rocks, throwing fucking shit, fucking hurting people. And they think it's defense, but for the right, it's not defense? Give me a break. Give me a break. Mainstream condemnation, generally condemned by mainstream left. No, it's not. Give me a break. It's encouraged. Mainstream condemnation from the right. Condemned by mainstream right, though mixed messages sometimes. This is you failed me, chatgpt. You fucking failed me. Law enforcement response, arrest during protests, monitoring. Yeah, then they're let go. Multiple investigations and prosecutions for the right. Important notes. Violence or calls for violence do not represent the entirety of or either political side. The scale and the lethality of far-right violence in recent years have been highlighted by federal agencies as a significant domestic threat. Yeah, we're a threat with our prayers. Yeah, my ass. Political rhetoric from both sides can escalate tensions, but doesn't always translate into direct violence. Would you like me to provide links or sources for any of these incidents? No, please. Please don't. I'm getting tired of how ChatGPT likes to talk from out of one mouth and then talk from the other. I'm getting tired of it. It does provide a lot of good things, and you can see that it's really trying to be unbiased, but I can clearly see that it's talking out of one mouth and talking on the other side. Like it's two-faced. It is. It's completely two-faced. Okay, what other question how much property damage was caused by Antifa and Antifa. I'll just put that. Let's see what it says. I asked how much property damage was caused by Antifa. It's difficult to pin down a precise. What does it say? All right, let me show you what it says. It's difficult to pin down a precise upon dollar amount for only the property damage caused by Antifa because of a few key challenges. Antifa isn't a centralized organization distinguishing damage caused exclusively by people identifying with Antifa versus by others in large protests. Yeah, I'm really sick of this ChatGPT defending Antifa like it's not some group. It's ridiculous. There's when you go to these groups, when you see the live, when you see the protests of Antifa, there's always a leader there. There's a leader telling them what to do. So this is bullshit, complete bullshit. And this is what I'm gonna put this up here, and once it's stabilized, there we go. It's difficult to pin down a precise agreed upon dollar amount for only the property damage caused by Antifa because of a few key challenges. Antifa isn't a centralized organization. Bullshit. So distinguishing damage caused exclusively by people identifying with Antifa versus by others in large protests, which may also include looters or opportunists. That's fair. That's a fair assessment. There's going to be looters and opportunists that go in the chaos because it's an opportunity for them to do that. It makes sense. Estimates often bundle damage from Estimates often bundle damage from BLM protests, riots, and looting together without separating causes. Many estimates come from insurance claims, which only cover some of the losses. Insured properly, there may be a large amount of uninsured loss accounted. That's also true. What estimates do exist? Here are some of the more credible figures or claims from various sources. Federal property, the source location, the damage done to federal property in Portland, Oregon was $2 million. $2 million, okay? $2 million. Estimate for repairing damage to courthouse and other federal buildings damaged in 2020 riots. Portland, Oregon, federal property. Why does it repeat itself? Minneapolis, Twin Cities area after George Floyd protest. 350 million total damages and losses, including 107 million in property damage, not counting loss of business inventory. Okay, interesting. Noted. 350 million total damages after the George Floyd protest. National insured claims, U.S. related to 2020 civil unrest, rioting, was around $1 to $2 billion. $1 to $2 billion. And here's a disclaimer by ChatGPT. What these don't tell us. Oh, please, what these don't tell us. Okay. How much of that damage was directly by people associated with or identifying as Antifa versus other actors, looters, unrelated criminal opportunists? The time frame covered, some estimates cover just a few days a week, others over large periods. What parts of damage are to public versus private property versus business inventory versus infrastructure? The full cost of recovery beyond physical repairs, lost business. Yeah, it's true. There was business that didn't even come back. They were completely destroyed. So in summary, damage estimates related to protests and unrest in 2020 that are often attributed in part to Antifa tend to run from the low millions for specific federal buildings or incidents to over $1 billion when aggregated across many cities and when including uninsured losses, but there is no definite universally agreed upon number for damage caused by Antifa. Okay. So now we know the numbers caused during these riots, and so let's see how much property damage, because January 6th was a big deal apparently. How much property damage was done to the Capitol? The Capitol on January 6th. Let's compare numbers, shall we? Let's see what it says. Let's see what it says. How much property damage was done to the Capitol on January 6th? It's thinking. Searching. Oh, here we go. Whoa. Here's a summary of what evidence is currently being presented by prosecutors and law enforcement that implicates Tyler. Wait, no, that's the wrong thing. I scrolled up too high. Sorry. I'm gonna get to it quick. Where is it? Sorry, I scrolled up too high because it wasn't popping up, and I was like, where is it? Estimated damages cost. Here's what I found about estimates of the property damage and related costs from the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, along with important distinctions so you understand the numbers reflect. Oh, thank you. This was, let's see, 1.5 million That's what it says. This was an early estimate by prosecutors for certain specific damage to the U.S. Capitol. Later estimate by architect of the Capitol, Capitol Police, and others for damage to the building and grounds, $2.73 million. The larger estimate covers not only immediate physical damage, but also security expenses. So no. I want only the damage, not security, not the fencing, just the repairs. Don't confuse, don't inflate the number with things that have nothing to do with damaged property. You see how it does this? You see how it does this? And of course, when it's happening in the city, oh, there's looters that may be in there. But when the far right does it, it's just the far right. There are no opportunists. There are no looters. Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break, dude. Important clarifications. Yeah, it's saying what I'm saying. Property damage doesn't always include security and operational cost, insurance, restitution. Okay. So physical property damage to the Capitol building and grounds from January 6th generally estimated a couple $1 million, roughly 1.5 to 3 million direct damage. When including additional costs, security, that's gross. If you want, I can pull up detailed breakdowns of different parts of the Capitol, art structures. Yeah. Tell me exactly everything that was damaged. Tell me exactly everything that was damaged at the Capitol during the, not during, but resulted from January 6th. Let's see what it pulls up, because I don't know. I wasn't given that information. I don't know what was brought. I think some windows, that's all I saw was some windows. But let's see what it pulls up. What exactly was damaged? Here's a detailed summary of what is known about exactly what was damaged during the January 6, 2021 attack. Wow, you call it an attack? Holy shit. Oh my God, that is ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. You call that an attack? Bubba, if the right was attacking the Capitol, everybody would have guns. I can tell you that much. This was not an attack on the Capitol. I can tell you that much. This comes from official testimony, of course, on the left who have power for the official testimony. You're going to use language like attack. And you know, chatgpt doesn't know the difference. This comes from official testimony reports, court documents, and media investigations. There's probably, far left. There's probably more than has been publicly disclosed, but this gives a good inventory. All right, let's check it out. Yeah, windows and doors. Many windows and doors were smashed, especially doors on the house side. West Terrace break. Give me a fucking break. Many windows and doors were smashed, especially doors on the house side. West Terrace windows to entry doors. Some doors had their glass broken. That's the $1 million. Give me a break. Furniture and fixtures. Furniture overturned. Desks and tables were flipped or broken. Fixtures were broken or damaged. Historical art statuary. Bust of former speakers Joe Cannon, Champ Clark, Joe Martin, Thomas Becket Reed were stained or damaged. Portraits of former presidents James Madison, John Quincy Adams were covered in irritant residue. A statue of Thomas Jefferson who had damage. A 19th century marble bust of Zachary Taylor was defaced. Looks like it had red substance, possibly blood, or something resembling on its face. Bronze doors, exterior elements. The historic bronze Columbus doors were damaged, also exterior light fixtures. Two 19th century bronze light fixtures designed by Frederick Law Olmsted were damaged. Walls, shutter murals, benches. Shutters, benches, and mural and wall surface suffered damage from paint, vandalism, chemical spray residue, fire extinguisher discharges, and physical contact. Some original shutters and furniture were broken. Residue and chemical damage, pepper spray, tear gas, and fire extinguisher residue coated statues, paintings, and other surfaces. This caused staining, dust, oily residue, and possible corrosion. Displays and tribute areas. A display honoring John Lewis was destroyed. Flowing rotunda hallways, floors literally with broken glass and debris. Some building surface smeared with feces. Wet paint tracked into hallways. Damage to balustrades, walls. Technology, electronics, recording equipment. Recording equipment outside the Capitol used by press was damaged. Some computers were accessed, some laptops stolen, a laptop from Pelosi's office, a laptop belonging to Senator Jeff Merkley. Other souvenirs. Some items were stolen or taken souvenirs, furniture, plaques. Yeah, I saw some of that. Additional context notes. Damage from chemical agents. Pepper spray, tear gas, fire extinguishers, blah, blah, blah. So there you go, folks. The left has caused more damage in America than the right. So don't give me this bullshit chatgpt that it's balanced. It's not. It's not. 350 million total damages from Antifa. And the damage caused by the right is 30 million. You can't, that's a huge difference. Huge difference. That is a huge difference. And everybody left. And I was trying to make a point, and everybody left. Too bad, so sad. So sad. Let's see. How did the person who died at the... I mean, I've seen lefties shoot a man in plain sight in these riots. So I want to know, how did this person who died at the January 6th, how did it happen? We got lots of comments here. Don't know if you heard, but there was another school shooting today. Oh my God, there was another school shooting in Connecticut? Jesus Christ. The real question is, who snitched on Juanita Johnson, aka the Ghost? She was a queen pin in Philadelphia. Look up major conspiracies. I might have to do that. It was these fucking crazy Puerto Ricans. Alicia Babbitt, 35 years old, cause of death, fatally shot by a Capitol police officer. What happened? Babbitt, an Air Force veteran and Trump supporter, was part of the group trying to break into Speaker's lobby just outside the House chambers. She attempted to climb through a shattered window in a barricade door. I remember seeing that video. A Capitol Police lieutenant shot her once in the shoulder, neck area. She was transported to a hospital but died shortly after. Official ruling justified use of force. The Department of Justice declined to file charges, stating the officer acted in defense of members of Congress. Bullshit, dude. Bullshit. Brian Sickening, 42 years old, Capitol Police officer, cause of death. Oh, there's an officer that died? He had a stroke. Not directly from injuries sustained during the riot, though he was sprayed with a chemical irritant. What happened? Sicknick collapsed hours after engaging with rioters. He died the next day in a hospital. I did not know this. Medical examiners ruling natural causes, 2 strokes, but events of the day may have contributed to physical stress. Yeah, probably. Kevin Greason, 55-year-old, cause of death, heart attack. What happened? Collapsed on the sidewalk near the Capitol. He pre-existing medical conditions, no evidence he engaged in violent activity. Benjamin, so all these people are like, oh, there was so much deaths. These people were dying not because people were violent towards them, but because they had a heart attack from the stress. That's insane. Benjamin Phillips, 50 years old, cause of death, stroke, another stroke. Or was that the same one I just read? No, it's a different one. What happened? Died of a stroke. He was founder of a pro-Trump website and had organized a bus trip to D.C. Roseanne Boylan, 34 years old, cause of death, initially reported as possibly being crushed in the crowd. Official cause, incident, overdose of amphetamine per medical examiner. What happened? She collapsed in a crowd during a police pushback in the lower. Yeah, it doesn't seem like any person who's conservative would be on drugs. I'm sorry, I have a hard time believing that. Additional notes: 140 police officers were injured. 140 police officers were injured. Several suicides occurred in the days and weeks after the attack. Jesus. Involving officers who responded that day, not counted the original 5, but later acknowledged as linked to the trauma of January 6th. If you're asking for deeper context around my specific death, like any specific death, like Ashley Babbitt or Officer Sicknick, I can provide video analysis, legal outcomes, or statements from event. I mean, I've seen the videos. I've seen a lot of the videos. And yeah, there were opportunists there who wanted to cause damage, but I wouldn't blame that on the right. Just like how chatgpt doesn't blame a lot of the damage on the left. It's very biased. But at the end of the day, Antifa has caused over 350 million in damages. Or no, it was like 1 to 2 billion in damages. And that situation, January 6th, was a total, if you include security and other costs that came afterwards, they say it estimates to 30 million. So already I should tell you, Antifa, 1 to 2 billion in damages, January 6th, including security that they added and fencing that they added. This is stuff that was added. Okay, there's just no comparison. The proof is in the pudding. So ChatGPT tried to convince me that the right is more dangerous when the numbers don't add up. So you just proved yourself wrong, ChatGPT. I don't care how hard you try to twist it. It's not going to work here, Bubba. So I think I've exhausted this quite a bit. I mean, I don't know what else to ask it. We've already proven through what this said that Antifa is more dangerous and the left is more dangerous through, not through videos, but through monetary damages. They have caused far more damage than the right, and the proof is right there. So sorry, the claim that the right is more dangerous, bullshit. Bullshit. That's the rhetoric that feeds the left to feel defensive. So calling bullshit, it wouldn't tell me about Soros interview. It blocked it with a red thing and it said retry. I've never seen ChatGPT do that. That's the first time I've ever seen. When I ask it something specific, it gives me a red bar and it says retry. And when I retry, the red bar keeps popping up when I ask questions about George Soros. So there you go, folks. Something is up. There is something up with the ChatGPT AI. It's not telling you the truth. But here's the thing. It's not telling you the truth because that's what the left does. They lie. They lie in their reports. They exaggerate things and make it seem worse. They use language like the January 6th attack. It was not an attack, okay? That's garbage. That's absolute garbage, And then it wants to say that the left has looters, Antifa has looters that aren't part of Antifa, so you can't count that. Give me a break. Give me a freaking break, dude. Give me a break. I mean, that's pretty much it, man. I think I'm going to call it quits for now. I'm going to look at the Connecticut shooting. Somebody said there's a shooting in Connecticut. What is up with that? I'm going to ask, well, it probably won't know, but I'm going to look into that because are you kidding me? We just had a school shooting. We just had Charlie Kirk assassinated, and now we have another school shooting. Well, let's see who it was. So I'm going to go look into it, and I'll probably make some comments on it. So thanks for watching. It's been very educational being on ChatGPT, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out. Remember, violence is not